seconds. Good luck. Enjoy.
This is the inside story of the most extraordinary chapter in television history. It's a tale of the modern age with drama, comedy, conflict and revelation.
I had to have a double brandy to just relax myself.
Driven by controversy and played out in front of global audiences.
It was the one time where I thought my career's over.
One incredible programme changed the face of television, popular culture and some say society. It created unlikely heroes, victims and villains. This is what went on behind the scenes. This is the inside story of Big Brother. It all began a long time ago in Holland.
If you want to know what happened, I can tell you because I remember it like it was yesterday.
Everybody in television was saying it's all been done before, there's nothing new under the sun.
In 1997, 4 Dutch TV executives were brainstorming ideas. Inspired by space-age communities and the new technology of the internet.
We said, what would happen if you make an environment where you bring people, just normal people, together and then just tape it 24/7 and see what happens. And 100% this was the first thought, which later became Big Brother.
Hey, godverdomme!
As a programme idea, it was strange and difficult to categorise. A cocktail of game show, voyeuristic documentary and sexual soap opera.
Before we went on air, someone said to me, Big Brother will become for Endemol what Mickey Mouse is for Disney. And I thought this guy is completely out of his mind. But he was so right.
It was revolutionary. When it was broadcast in Holland, it broke records. Big Brother was ready to conquer the world. But at the time, British television liked its innovations to be comfy.
Favourite piece? We haven't done it on changing rooms before. It was the bleaching of the worktops.
Brilliant.
And no one was naughty enough to really do voyeurism. Well, almost no one.
We were about being young, different, and in a way slightly trouble-seeking. That's what we were about.
In late 1999, Channel 4 took the plunge and ordered the most expensive factual programme in its history. A house was built in London's East End, a huge production team was assembled, and Channel 4's hottest presenting talent approached.
John Null, who was my agent then, he gave me this tape and he said, look, you should watch this. I was sat on the floor, I didn't even make it to the sofa. I was kneeling on the floor in front of the television. And I thought, this is quite interesting. It's like spying. It felt kind of a bit uncomfortable.
This unguarded, unflinching and confessional programme struck a chord.
I'd lived life, you know. I'd had and gone through a drug habit, got clean. I'd had some bad relationships. I'd had good relationships. I'd done therapy. I mean, I'd kind of done a lot of mad stuff. And I think all of the knowledge and all of the mistakes that I've made and, you know, all of the lessons that I've learned all really, really helped me in the job that I do.
The team began advertising for housemates. The job was on to whittle down 40,000 volunteers to 10. Back then, we wanted nice people.
It was a bit like casting a drama and we were looking for different people to fulfil different roles.
I thought if you put people in who you knew were going to create tension and conflict, you sort of knew what you were going to get. If you got people who would try and get on because they were genuinely sort of reasonable human beings, if there was conflict and there was a row, they would then try and come back together and resolve it. And it's actually the coming back together that makes relationships develop and flow and go in ways you wouldn't expect.
I remember Tom not being a favourite.
I think there's one thing usually wins me over with people. It's whenever I walk into a room with a big gun on me.
You know, I remember people saying about Tom, imagine him as your screensaver. Imagine him as your screensaver.
Now, I don't mind living with strange people.
Anna, a favourite all round. We couldn't quite believe that she was this Irish, you know, ex-nun.
Sometimes if people don't actually like you, they're not necessarily going to listen to what you've got to say, or they'll listen, but it won't go in.
And then Craig, sort of, you know, voice of the people, everyman, hard-working bloke.
What we were missing was white, heterosexual, posh male.
In 1999, I'd been working in the city for 10 years. I'd become bored and disillusioned with the job, and I was looking to change my life. I saw an advert on the Channel 4 website for applicants for a new show. The rest is kind of history.
On the 14th of July 2000, 10 unknowns entered the Big Brother house.
It was like sort of strangely quiet. We didn't know really what we'd just done.
None of the team behind the scenes knew what to expect. The orders were to keep watching.
It was exhausting. I think that my main memory of it really is the exhaustion rather than anything else. The schedule was such that you did a 30-hour shift when it was your show. So you would stay up all day watching the material, then stay up all night running the edits. Most of us spent most of our time semi-comatose.
The group's practicing for their weekly task. They must decide what percentage of next week's budget to gamble on the assault course.
I totally remember the decisions about the voiceover, because I remember every single moment about the choice of that.
I had to send a tape off to Endemol, and they'd give me a few lines that they'd suggested. And one of the lines was, Johnny's in the garden looking after the chickens.
As soon as he read the word chicken, I can't do it, but he went chicken, and we just said, that's the one, that's the one.
They're set a task to keep them occupied, and if they succeed, they increase their small weekly food budget. This week's challenge is to make their own crockery.
Things felt slow, earnest, even pedestrian. But the nation was hooked. And then the phenomenal storyline that everyone hoped for began to emerge.
He's a treacherous one, Craig, as well.
What?
He's a treacherous one.
When did we begin to realise Nick was a wrong one? Day one, really.
He didn't just relax with everybody else, he seemed a bit stiff and a bit, like, uncomfortable. And he read the situation and he read what people wanted. So all of this Reiki, you know, I do a bit of healing. You know, that really gave me the willies.
Yeah, I had a game plan. I had a thing in my mind that every day I would give someone or each person there 5 minutes of my time and just made sure that I got on side with each and every person. You know, whether or not I liked them or not, it didn't really matter.
Nicholas is now the only housemate never to have received a single vote. He's officially the most popular member of the house.
There was one evening where we all sat around and spoke about sort of tragedies that had happened to us in our life, and we all had various stories. Nick told us one about his wife.
Just sat there and thought, this is just drivel, this is just dull. It's time now to actually, you know, say something that will make them drop dead and also have empathy for me.
I was very deeply in love with her, and unfortunately we had a terrible car accident in the Northern Territories which killed her.
Oh my God.
So,
and we knew that was not true and that he didn't have a wife and that nobody had been killed. So as producers watching it, we were like, what? What's going on here? He also did this thing where he would be really nice, I think particularly to Caroline.
if I didn't care, I wouldn't be in here.
Yeah.
And if I wanted you out, I would not be in here either. So, you know, we're here to support you.
And then he would go and slag her off to somebody else. Again, completely normal behaviour for the Big Brother house now. No one would think anything of it. Then it was like, oh!
On the evening of day 33, Nick's schemes began to unravel.
What does it say? Caroline and Nikki.
Craig And Darren, I think, had found some names in Nick's bag and they were really angry.
We couldn't believe what was going on. I was amazed at what was going on and was having to make decisions on the spot about the best way to deal with it.
I feel like going out and knocking them out.
Craig came to the diary room and I spent probably about half an hour talking him down from his absolute fury. He was going to go and punch Nick and I had to try and stop him from punching Nick.
The phone call I got was from a producer who was virtually hysterical. Let's just calm down and think about it, sleep on it and we'll do it in the morning.
We're going to have a meeting in the morning.
Why?
Just everyone's upset over all various things.
And it's generally the girls who aren't happy.
This occasion, Nick, I'm not very happy.
Aren't you?
No.
I didn't know that. Did you go to the diary room?
I did, yeah. They just told me to bring it up at the table, wait till everybody's around and talk, don't I?
Okay. I look forward to it tomorrow.
Me too.
It was actually a genius decision because what it meant was we were able to get our act together, cameras were in position, we could look into the whites of his eyes and their eyes. And that's why it was so powerful.
You have sat and blatantly had a one-on-one conversation with me and make arrangements for the future. You know, when we get out of here, I want to ask you, Nick, how can you do that?
We've decided that we're going to ask you to leave the house. I'm sorry, Nick, I'm sorry it's come to this, but we have to follow the rules of Big Brother.
I remember leaving the house by the back door and getting into the black Mercedes, but getting into the wrong door because Ruth was there.
I had to tell him that he was the most hated man in Britain, that he'd got devil's horns, and so it was quite a lot for a human being to take in, and he sort of veered from being very scared and upset to being like, how much money will I make? I remember Davina was called at 6 o'clock in the morning to come out to do the interview.
For me, it was probably the biggest moment of my career. There'd never been so much interest. I mean, it was all cloak and dagger. I was kind of frightened that paparazzi were going to be following my car, and I wasn't thinking straight. Anyway, I didn't have my makeup with me.
So she went to a massive Tesco's nearby, bought 2 pairs of pants, because I hadn't got any underwear to change into, and some makeup, which would have been a press story in its own right, Davina, 6 a.m. buying makeup and underwear. She brought it to the hotel, and we did the interview.
Hello, Nick. How are you feeling? I felt like I was interviewing Genghis Khan. You know, it was like a huge, serious moment. And I'm a light entertainment presenter. How am I going to deliver?
How did you feel when the group confronted you? Because that was an extreme moment.
I'll give you an answer in a second.
It was an awful interview. It was terrible. He was so wary and scared, I suppose. It was like getting blood out of a stone.
You haven't sort of actually actively said you're sorry yet, are you?
Oh, yes, yeah. I'm very sorry for it.
If he'd been in the American version of the show, he'd have been a hero, not a villain, because that's how the show's always been played in America. The people who manipulate the rules are voted the winners. Only in strangely moral Britain could somebody who played the game show to its full extent be marked down.
So that's the end of the beginning, but the Big Brother story just gets bigger. In part 2, we'll find out how more genius decisions, luck and controversy...
He was so boring.
...projected Big Brother into the heart of the nation's televisions, press and mobile phone bills.
We're in a whole grey area with this kind of
The confrontation was watched by more than 6 million TV
Get really excited on the net because you can chat to other people at the same time.
When you have real people involved in real drama.
No one expected Big Brother to take off in the way it did.
It was omnipresent. Everywhere I went, people wanted to discuss it with me.
I found the press side terrifying because it was just beyond our control. You know, my mobile phone would ring and they go, "Hi, morning, it's blah blah radio and you're live on radio," and I'd be thinking, oh my God, put the phone down thinking, shit.
Going to the supermarket would take 4 hours because every single aisle I went down, I'd have to have another discussion. about Big Brother.
I'd be on a train that very first summer and people would be talking about Big Brother and my ears would prick up, and then they'd start impersonating me. Day 5 in the Big Brother house, giggle, giggle. Oh my God, that's me.
The huge crowds that we could house at Bow were so exciting. It's just brilliant how involved people get. It was nerves, and it was excitement, and it was adrenaline. It was like a huge rave. It was like that kind of just give me a glow stick and a whistle and I'm off.
Big Brother revolutionised the way we watch TV and how the press reported on it.
Big Brother was an almost instant hit with a younger generation of viewers, people in their teens and early 20s. Heat capitalised on that very cleverly.
At the beginning of 2000, Heat was the most famous magazine flop in Britain. Essentially, we were given that summer to save the magazine.
Everything changed with the second eviction from Series 1.
Andrew was about to rejoin the outside world.
We didn't have anyone else that week. So it was like, OK, let's dummy up a cover with him on there. And I remember looking at the screen and going, but he's not famous, he's not a celebrity. It seemed like the oddest cover in the world. It was a huge seller for us. And it changed everything about Heat. As soon as that sale came in, we were away.
Big Brother is back, bigger and tougher than before.
Anticipation was intense when Series 2 began, and the producers hoped for new, dramatic storylines. But instead of nasty, they got nice.
You can't make these things that happen. So Nick was Series 1, Paul and Helen Series 2, you know.
I don't know why they chose me, really. I think perhaps they chose me because they thought I might have been a bit of a dizzy blonde, which I still am. We could sleep in here, can we?
It's a really bad idea.
Paul was the one that we weren't sure of, and he was so boring. We interviewed him 7, 8 times, willing him to tell us a funny story, or he was a nice lad, but he was dull. And we sent him in thinking he'll be the first out, he'll just bore everyone. Probably never forgive me for saying that, but he was young.
Oh, he's on top of her. Helen just sort of fell for him immediately. Now, we hadn't had this in Series 1, this was kind of new. There wasn't this whole sex thing going on, the pressure to have sex, or who was going to have sex first, and did they have sex, and all of this focus on sex wasn't there yet. So I was still allowed to fully enjoy this sweet romance, and that's why I think I was so captivated by it, because I believed it.
Helen and Paul's love affair gripped viewers and sent the press pack into overdrive.
When Paul got evicted, we had to hide him away in a hotel. We thought a newspaper was going to get a hold of Big G, bring him up to London, and they have a fight, and it'd be flash, flash, flash. They'd get their scoop, and it would ruin our buy-up. So we had to hide him away for 3 days. I felt so sorry for the guy because he'd been stuck in that house, and then he had to be locked up in a hotel with me.
Audiences loved it, the media loved it, and Channel 4 wanted more.
I got a call from Andrew Newman at Channel 4 and said, look, I've had this idea. It's like a daily strip show about Big Brother, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do a show about Big Brother all day. And he said, yes, but it's live, and you know, that was hand up. I just wanted to do live television.
Hello, welcome to Big Brother's Little Brother. It's only day 7, ladies and gentlemen, and already there have been fireworks. And I ain't talking about sparklers, I'm talking about Catherine wheels.
I never thought that many people would be interested in it. That's a strange thing. I genuinely didn't think that people who watched the main show would be that turned on by a daily strip show. I just didn't think we'd have the legs.
Series 2's winner, Brian Dowling, burst out of the house and straight into television fame. And that changed things.
With Series 3, I think it was harder to cast because the people that were coming forward to be in Big Brother were of a type, and they wanted to be famous, and they wanted their 15 minutes of fame and a cover on Heat magazine.
But one of the new housemates just seemed happy to be away from her mum for a bit.
She, from the very outset, even amongst the team, divided opinions. Some people thought, my God, she should never go into the Big Brother house, she's just too much. And some people thought, that's precisely why I want her in the Big Brother house, and some people just sort of fell in love with her.
I didn't like Jade. I felt that she was just like any girl you could meet down the market in South London or Bethnal Green. But she had that thing that I'd always drummed into those producers, that she was nice, that in there was a nice person.
I've never had anything like that. I'm upset.
Jade, at times, seemed to be the plaything of the other, more knowing housemates.
I'm a mingin.
Diseased. I got quite protective over her. I couldn't get to her. I couldn't get inside the house. But I used to watch her every night and think, man, somebody be nice to that girl.
Alex, she sat there lying, crying like a little bitch. I'm going to stop in Decker, seriously.
Graham Norton started calling her a pig, and then the Daily Mirror took up that sort of thing. There were pictures of her as an ogre, and people would come down to Big Brother with kill the pig signs.
And that was the first time I became concerned that we'd got into bed with the devil, with the press, because actually he was quite a young, innocent girl. She didn't really deserve it.
I watched it and I thought, this is awful, this is really awful, but actually because we let it play out, there was a huge sway of sympathy to Jade. From being pig-faced, nationally vilified, she turned into the nation's sweetheart.
It was so wonderful to see, because she sort of triumphed over all that. It gets complicated later on, of course, but I'm sure we'll come back to
that. Big Brother's popularity reached record heights in Series 3. What could possibly go wrong?
You're very serious looking, Steph. Do you want me to bring you a malted milk biscuit?
No, I'm fine with it.
Well, just see if you want something.
Series 1, 2 and 3 just built. And then Series 4 was euphemistically known as the crap year.
You're right, darling. You're so brown, you've got a lovely colour.
Big Brother 3 was raucous and tabloid. Big Brother 4, we wanted to strike a different tone and go back to basics. And of course what we quickly discovered was that you can't go back to basics.
All the boys are sleeping. Lisa is reading in the girls' room.
I remember when I came in on a Sunday morning and I said, it's the first weekend. I said, so, what's happened? And one of the researchers turned around to me and went, nothing's happened.
The News of the World had 4 pages to fill on Big Brother scandal and gossip, and they simply didn't have that scandal and gossip.
Big Brother bombed, and something had to be done.
I don't want to bake cakes. I want to spin people around till they're sick.
The Series 5 reboot was radical, and the programme took on a new direction.
Big Brother, you are one twisted fuck.
If people don't like something being safe, what do? You've got to take a risk. And to take a risk, we had to basically tear up the rule book as it existed then.
I think we all said together, we've got to have a more of a live wire cast. We've got to have bigger characters.
We said, let's go out and we'll do open auditions for the first time. We won't go off tapes anymore. We'll go out and we'll see people.
I'm going to put you through.
And I can remember every single housemate that we ended up with in the house from the queue.
If I have to bend the rules to get to where I'm going, I'll do that without batting an eyelid.
My audition process was a very, very interesting process. The line stretched. It was an Excel center. It stretched around the Excel center as far as you could see. I asked somebody, I said, how long is the queue time? Queue times ran it in about 4 hours, mate. But 4 hours? Me? Not for me. So I walked right to the front of the queue and just pretended I hadn't done anything wrong, just stood there. You're pushing in, a big argument kicked off. Some little woman comes up. She goes, Victor, come out of the queue. So I thought that was it, curtains for Victor. She put a stamp on my hand. Victor, you're through to the next round.
If you go into a party or a bar and you look around a room, automatically certain people will stand out to you. And this is the same for the auditions.
Everybody was chosen to rub someone else up the wrong way.
I've just had a sex change.
I'm a bit gobby. I can't believe he said that. Oh my God, how are you going to take that?
I'd rather sleep on the floor than sharing a bed with a homosexual man.
One house, 12 housemates, and a whole world of pain.
This is Daniel. He's 6'5"
They were like wrestlers being described as they go into the ring.
He's got enormous muscles.
It's that scariness of Big Brother that we'd got used to was back in a very different way.
She enjoys socially inappropriate behaviour and petty revenge.
So what happens behind the scenes when good housemates go bad? Coming up, it's the second age of Big Brother.
Who are you?
Being nice had worked for Big Brother's first 3 years, but after Series 4, nice was history.
Just get me out of here, please!
The house just took on a whole new persona as well.
We lowered the ceilings, we raised the floors, we made the house as tiny as we possibly could. We made it as garish and as hideous as we could. All of those things were very, very deliberate. And then we made the task, you know, a bit cruel.
Somebody came up with the idea of doing this bed sit where we did a fake eviction and sent 2 people to a bed sit, and in the bed sit they could watch the action in the house and play pranks on the housemate.
The thinking behind it was always that we wanted to get some fallout and you wanted to get a reaction.
Victor, thank you for bringing it to Big Brother's attention. We will investigate them out there.
Yeah, just open the door, man.
I think everyone was surprised by kind of how much of a reaction they got from it.
On the evening of the 16th of June 2004, the housemates were reintroduced. It became known as Fight Night.
There was a lot of alcohol, and there was a lot of emotion. Some confrontation had to happen.
I stayed just watching the monitors till probably about midnight. There was definitely, obviously, discontent in the house, but there didn't seem to be any hint at that moment of what was about to happen. I remember walking through my front door and the phone rang, and I literally just got through my front door and the phone rang, and I answered it, and it was one of my producers. And she said, "Oh, I think you might need to come back. There's been a fight." Shit.
The producer that night was Danny Bell.
Before that night, a fight had been a little bit of finger pointing and someone calling someone a name. It wasn't like you could look back at a previous year and go, well, when there was a massive fight then, this is what you did. You're just hoping it doesn't get any worse.
It was really nasty, and then, I think it was only the second time in Big Brother history that got taken off air.
They'd gone out on streaming, but they cut away from the action, but you could still hear the noise.
As soon as it looked like it was escalating too much, we had security guards on the camera runs, on standby, ready to go in. I think the second it got physical, we sent people in and did as much as we can to protect them.
After 20 minutes of arguing, Big Brother has decided it is necessary to calm the situation by sending security guards into the house.
It wasn't out of control, but I don't know, I wouldn't say we were 100% in control.
everybody had to be separated. And Emma had ended up in the bedsit. We couldn't put Emma back into the house until we were absolutely sure that that house was calm enough for Emma and Victor to be in the same room.
That never happened, and Emma had to go.
I suppose I felt bad in a way for her because we were partially responsible for that, because we put her in a room and we kind of tortured her with knowledge of what her housemates thought of her. And somebody said to me, if you knew what your best friend said about you behind your back, you wouldn't have any friends. And I think that was the case in the bedsit. Suddenly they could see everything that everyone was saying, and it was really painful.
Series 5 had set out to take everything to its limits. It succeeded, but in some people's eyes, Big Brother would never be the same again.
Series 5 changed everything for Big Brother because it became something that needed to be contained rather than something that needed to be let go.
By 2006, Big Brother had reached its halfway point, and some members of the team began moonlighting.
I went and did my chat show, and it went really, really badly.
It absolutely knocked her confidence, and who wouldn't have been knocked by the flack that Davina got for that unfairly?
It was crippling. It was crippling. You know, I had like 2-3 months of really feeling really down and thinking, my career's over. You know, this is it. I'm finished. And then I went back to Big Brother and I thought, God, I'm not finished. I was welling up as I walked out to the crowd before we went live.
This show would not be Big Brother if we didn't have her at the top.
I'm going to start crying. Don't be nice to me. Thank you.
I suddenly thought, God, these people still love Big Brother and they still want me to present it, and it's all going to be okay. And that was a very moving feeling.
Series 7 was bright, colourful and cartoonish, and its decibels boosted by a new kind of housemate.
Who is she? When I first entered Big Brother, I was going through this weird phase in my life of going out to the clubs like China Whites and Faces in Essex and just living this lifestyle which was totally false.
Nikki was almost too hyper to be real. When she was voted out, some said good riddance, but not the producers.
We were getting to the last 4 weeks and it was running out of steam because it just did. I was thinking, what can we do over the next 4 weeks? I know, why don't we vote some people back in? So I presented this idea to the execs, who, bless them at the time, said, you're making a massive mistake. We don't want to do this. And I persuaded them to do it.
Nikki, you have been chosen to return to the Big Brother house for the final week.
That's the one moment Big Brother did mess up.
I think it upset quite a lot of people, and a lot of people suddenly sat up and said, you know, we paid a lot of money to get Nikki out of that house. Why are you putting her back in?
That's the one unspoken rule between producers and public. You get to choose who stays in and who doesn't. So the fact that when she went back in, that unwritten rule was kind of broken.
For some people, it isn't just a call. You know, some people it's 20 calls, so I completely get that you'd be very annoyed that, you know, you spent 10 quid on trying to get Nikki out, and then what do? We go and chuck her back in again.
It was entirely my idea, and I've had some good ideas in my time. I hope people will recognise, but I've had some bad ideas, and that was a particularly bad one.
I would define celebrity that people on the street recognise you. Full stop, verbatim.
Big Brother was now a no-holds-barred entertainment experience, still pulling in audiences and inspiring dreams of fame and fortune for lines of wannabe housemates.
In the kind of second half of the decade, you'd get the kind of open auditions, you'd get more kind of wannabes, you'd get people who'd film themselves showing off.
They knew how the audition process worked, and so, you know, they came almost prepared.
If you want entertainment, then you've got to pick the two. That's it, innit?
People want to be famous, and so They see Big Brother as a vehicle to fame.
I want attention, I love attention, and I'm up for a challenge.
And we think we're more fun than everybody else.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Before you know it, you've got 12 quite fame-hungry people that, you know, have got an idea that they're talented. Well, we don't want talented people, we just want good characters.
Boys should buy them all.
I watch Big Brother like everybody else at home. However, if I'm honest, I tend to watch it through business goggles. To give you an example, somebody like Chanel, from the minute she got out of the car, I saw this girl that looked like Victoria Beckham, dressed like Victoria Beckham. I've got pound signs ringing in my eyes within 8 seconds of seeing this girl on television. And then, of course, she hit the big rollover jackpot, if you like, because she started to do the most important thing you do in the Big Brother house, which is develop a relationship. You add in extra zeros to the end of every sum. You come out of the Big Brother house, you're going to be on the next day's cover of the newspapers, the following day's glossy magazines. Then you're going into your own lifestyle. Do we write a book? Do we release a calendar for next year? Do we release an aftershave? I tend to just go for everything because you're trying to bank the most amount of money in a very small amount of time. I have to be careful not to sound like a hypocrite on this question because I don't necessarily respect the celebrity culture we live in. You know, we should be saying you work hard, you get qualifications, you get a good job and you can have a good, successful life. The unfortunate flip side of that is I think Big Brother give this sense that you can do it on the cheap. So, I'm not a big fan.
Coming up, what it feels like when the world falls in on Big Brother.
It was a horrible, horrible afternoon.
By 2007, British Big Brother had outlived the original Dutch version by a year. As always, Summer BB was to be followed by the shorter, less intense celebrity version in the new year.
Okay, hello and welcome to Celebrity Big Brother 2007.
The thing about Celebrity Big Brother is you always did it going, it's a 3-week run, it'll be pretty fun, we'll have a bit of a laugh. We all see the light at the end of the tunnel. All the celebrities sort of get on well. So we were all really looking forward to it.
The way you cast Celebrity Big Brother is very different from the way you cast Big Brother. Somebody would have said, this is Shilpa Shetty, she's a massive Bollywood star. Great, we need some bloody celebrities. Here's a different kind of celebrity. Let's have her. In the previous Celebrity Big Brother, we'd put Chantel in the Big Brother house.
From now on, you are a pop star. That's all right with me.
So we thought, what would be an interesting take on that sort of slightly postmodern celebrity thing? Who's the queen of Big Brother? It's Jade. She's become this celebrity through Big Brother. Wouldn't it be interesting to see how she interacts with people who regard themselves as proper celebrities?
Despite Leo Sayer getting air-rated, the series began well.
I don't want to feel I want to go back to Australia. I want to leave this fucking stupid country and get the hell out of here.
And the producers waited for a big storyline to open up. And it did.
I'm just fed up of fucking having to eat when she wants to eat, and yeah, she has to cook everything. She's fucking doing my head in. It was kind of a pack mentality. It was like one person said something and it was almost like the bitchy floodgates were open.
I just don't get why you're bleaching your nose.
I can't believe she does her makeup in the toilet all discreet but walks out with that on her face.
Yeah. Big Brother is the ultimate honesty format. It's like it's dipping you in acid as a person. And you can't hide anything. You are stripped to your bare essentials. Your personality is exposed.
Shilpa should go in there and ask how long you should cook a chicken for.
I said maybe they cook them differently in India.
Cook it for
That's
like
why they're all thin, because they're sick all the time.
They were beyond thinking what other people outside were thinking about. They weren't thinking about that anymore. And their dislike for this one person just kind of took over.
Complaints started sort of coming in. It coincided with a visit that Gordon Brown was making to India when he was Chancellor of the Exchequer.
I understand that in the United Kingdom there have been
already 10,000 complaints from viewers. We want to be a nation of fairness and tolerance. Anything that detracts from that, I condemn. Okay.
Once he waded into this debate, he suddenly took on this other life.
And now the British police are investigating threats to the housemates of the reality show.
The global news impact of this Big Brother seemed almost surreal. But the dynamics in the house had exposed class, culture and race issues and our sometimes unsavoury responses to them.
Our view of it at the very outset was this is all to do with insecurity and where you are in the celebrity pecking order and class to some degree.
Kate Moss invited me back to her house for a party. That's my claim to fame. Not Shilpa Darupa. Is that what the name is?
That I have not seen the particular programme in question, therefore can't comment on it. But of course, I would agree entirely with the principle that he has outlined, which is that we should oppose racism in all its forms.
You walked into Ofcom, the banks of television were on Celebrity Big Brother, not just Celebrity Big Brother, but the news channels. It was being reported 24 hours a day. There were calls for us to take that programme off air.
Well, we were off the map. We were completely off the charts. No one had ever experienced anything like that before.
It was like wolves feeding on you, and we couldn't stop them. We couldn't stop and say, look, let's consider this for a second. Let's have a debate about it. Let's talk about it.
We received 45,000 complaints over a period of 3 days, and at one time we were receiving about 30 complaints a minute.
Something had to give.
We had to get the girls out, one by one.
We weren't allowed to have an audience at the eviction, so she came out of the Big Brother house to silence. I remember one of my overriding things being, she is going to be destroyed and I'm responsible for this.
The usually upbeat post-eviction interviews were raw and direct.
Questioning whether the Indians were thin because they didn't cook their food properly.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
Did I?
You said that there, and that's...
Do you know what? I didn't even remember saying that.
But you did.
As a show, we turned into like Newsnight for a week. It was just extraordinary. Why were you so horrible to her? Because you were just, I mean, the three of you as well just sort of ganged up on it. And it was just so uncomfortable to watch.
Like, I didn't think I was being a bully until I watched it.
Did you never think to yourself, you never stop and put your foot on the ball and just go, oh, God, I am being a bit harsh on this one? I had to ask these questions. You know, her behaviour was awful. So I had to hold her to account for this. Have you thought seriously about maybe I'll just retire from public life and...
I haven't thought about none of it. I haven't thought about what I'm going to do, what I'm not going to do. I just want to get it clear to everybody out there that I'm not a racist, but yes.
And, you know, and I pillared the girl. I felt dreadful for it. I had to have a double brandy to just relax myself. It was a horrible, horrible afternoon.
It was just the good old modern politics of Britain, full of sensation, tabloid campaigns, something must be done, politicians who never watched it having opinions on it, regulators who didn't want to lose the PR battle, harassed broadcasting executives who looked as they were slightly on the run. Just another day in Britain, in the exciting modern media world we live in.
Channel 4 issued an apology, and media attention shifted elsewhere. But the effects of this painful affair on Big Brother were long-term.
After that whole sort of furore, we are required now to absolutely intervene when there's either a sort of hint of bullying or certainly racism.
The rules of the game get harder and harder and harder to abide by for the producers and the housemates, but the viewer still expects to be entertained in exactly the same way.
Series 8 and 9 followed, and then in 2009, Big Brother approached its 10th anniversary series. Then came the news.
I found out that Big Brother had been axed when Phil Edgar-Jones took me into what we call our crisis room and told me that the latest crisis was that Big Brother was not going to be happening anymore.
Big Brother will disappear from Channel 4 next year after 11 series.
In the summer of 2009, I think we had taken the view that it was time to do something new and different at the channel. That, in the end, is what Channel 4 should always do. It should always be searching out the new and the next new thing.
I got a phone call from Phil and I go, oi, how are you? And he's like, oh, I'm fine. And I just knew it. Immediately, his tone of voice, I just knew. I didn't cry on the phone to Phil, but then the next day I woke up and I looked at Matthew and it was the first thing I thought about when I opened my eyes, and I had a big old cry.
It's sometimes hard to see new programmes coming until you clear the space. It's like, you clear the forest and other things grow. And I think that Big Brother is an oak tree under which very little else can grow.
Big Brother was just fighting an ongoing battle with public perception. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 have all been kind of swimming against the sludge of disapproval from the people that don't watch it.
We went into this profession knowing that TV shows do come to an end. Any actor, any producer knows that, and 10 years is a really good gig.
Big Brother has been a highly successful piece of television entertainment that, almost by accident, has also been quite revealing socially.
It was, at its best, a TV show where groups of young people worked out what they felt about the world, what they felt about other people. It's just endlessly fascinating.
It completely changed the way we watch television, completely changed the way we react to TV, and I'm very proud to work on that show.
It was the first programme that felt all-inclusive, that you could be involved. Watch and judge. Who wins, you decide.
It's been a unique roller coaster ride that probably only happens for a television producer once in a lifetime.
I've lived a whole TV career on this one programme. From the year I got married, through all my babies. It helped me through the shit with my chat show. It had the best of me, it had the worst of me. It was the biggest part of the best part of my life.
People sitting on a sofa, watching people sitting on a sofa.
And we're about to do it all over again for the very last time. I don't think he's going to go out quietly. Big Brother, The Launch, a week on Wednesday at 9 on Channel 4. Next up tonight, Earl is in Mexico.